Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Keith. And as always, I appreciate everything that you do, and great to have you on the team. Let me begin by saying welcome and congratulations, and I applaud all of you for once again setting yourselves apart from the rest and clearly showing and declaring that you are ready to take back control of your future and begin to narrow the gap between the life that you are living and the life that you once imagined. Today I want to spend our time together talking a little bit about the why people need to take personal responsibility and take action and immediate action for their own futures. A huge part of that is discovering and uncovering your own whys that will enable and empower you to do all the right things each and every day. And I'm talking about doing a little bit of the right things each and every day, and many of you have heard me state over and over, I absolutely believe that you can have a phenomenal business and grow a phenomenal team working just 5 to 10 hours a week. As I started a little earlier talking about the gap between the life that we may be living and the life that we once imagined, let me ask you a simple but very important question. If you had all the time and money you desire, imagine for a moment what things about your life would be different. Would you live in a different home? Would you drive a different car? Would your travel patterns be different? Would you travel more to more exotic places? Would you be doing more for your family and community? Would it be one thing that changed about your life? Would it be two things that changed? Would it be almost everything that changed about your life with all the time and money you desire? If your answer is almost everything, I will submit to you that you are living a life far, far removed from the life you once imagined. The only question is, what are you ready and willing to do to narrow that gap? I will tell you that it's not all your fault. We were taught and shown by example to pursue a plan and strategy that was never really designed to provide us financial independence and therefore provide what all of us are really looking for, which is true time freedom. We were all told to study hard in school and get good grades, to get a degree, to get a job working for a large corporation and work harder than the next guy to get advanced and get promoted and to move ahead. We were told this path would be the solution and we would, in fact, arrive on Easy Street. Unfortunately, this plan is by design a formula for failure. And let's talk about this plan. John Giesick, who joined us on the training call today, is one of our leaders in Chicago. He talks about what he calls the 50-50, 50-50 plan. I may not explain his concept perfectly, but this is what it means to me. People spend their lives working 50 hours a week, for 50 weeks a year, for 50 years, and then finally, in retirement, when they should be on Easy Street, they find themselves having to live on 50% of what they could not afford to live on when they were working full-time. Based on this plan, if we examine 100 people at age 65, the results are as follows. 5 out of 100 are still working. 36 out of 100 are dead. 54 out of 100 are dead broke. 4 out of 100 are what people would consider relatively well off. And lastly, 1 out of 100 are wealthy. Now, I am as competitive as the next guy, and I don't know about you, but I do not find the odds of making this plan work at 1 out of 100 comforting. I am certainly not willing to risk my whole adult working career and life and family on the hopes of somehow being lucky enough to be that 1 out of 100. The problem and tragedy that many people find themselves in is that we don't get a do-over if we find ourselves as one of the 99 out of 100. So let's take a closer look at why this 50-50, 50-50 plan does not work. Fundamentally, our desire and goals are at direct conflict with the desires and goals of our employers. What are they looking for? Well, they're looking to maximize profits. They're looking to increase gross revenues, to reduce the cost of goods, to net out net revenues, okay, minus expenses, and that is what they would retain as net profit. Now let's talk about why those goals are in direct conflict with what we're looking for. We are looking to maximize income. For people that are in a job, they are typically looking to maximize income. Remember, on previous slides, we're talking about, studying hard, getting a degree, going to work for a large corporation, working harder than the next guy so we get promoted and so we can advance at that organization. What we're looking for is maximum income for the fewest hours or the smallest amount of hours that we can commit to. Because the one thing that I think most of us would agree upon is time is money. Understand in economic terms, your employer on the left-hand side, because your objective of making more money or your income hits their expense line, understand what they're trying to do. Your employer has to buy your time and skill sets at a wholesale price, so to speak, and then sell the results of your time and skill sets at a retail price, and that difference again is their profit. So as you can see, the two goals, the employer's goals and our goals, are at direct conflict, and ultimately the question comes down to who has the leverage in this relationship. And unfortunately, in most instances, it's not going to be the employee. And that's why this plan fundamentally is a plan for failure to allow us to narrow that gap between the life we're living and the life that we once imagined. The core kind of what I would call the evil and dilemma is linear income. And uslegal.com defines linear income as this: the income a person receives from the work he or she does. For this, one needs to put in a certain number of hours every week as work. The linear income stops when a person stops working. It requires continued work. And there's the rub, right? There's the rub, that this is simply put, trading time for money. And this doesn't apply just to baseline jobs or what most people would consider to be low-level jobs. If you think back to our cash flow quadrants training, this applies to highly specialized professions as well. And let me give you an example. If you are a physician or a dentist, are you able to see twice as many patients in order to double your income? And the answer is no. If you're an attorney, are you able to take on twice as many clients to double your income? And again, the answer is no. If you're a small business owner, are you able to, without exponentially increasing your expenses, double your revenues or profits? And again, the answer is no. And I call it an issue or a result of a transactional dilemma, meaning as a patient, or as a physician or a dentist, you have to see the next patient to get paid. As an attorney, you have to counsel the next client to get paid. As a business owner, you have to find your next customer to be paid. So it is a transactional environment, and you're always spending so much effort and energy to find your next transaction, and that's part of that trading time for money. And when you have no more time to trade, you have no income. And of course today, many are finding themselves wanting and willing to trade their time for money, but cannot find a job willing to allow them to make that trade. How many people do you know that have had even this horrible relationship broken by their employer, meaning they were fired, terminated, let go, furloughed, laid off, downsized, reorganized, and so on, and so on, and so on? And the real tragedy is that most people absolutely believe that this is their only option. You may be able to have a little bit of time, you may be able to have a little bit of money, But what we do know is that you cannot have both. You may be able to have a little bit of money, you may be able to have a little time, but you cannot have both. So even if people are lucky enough to have a job, what are people finding themselves doing? Well, working harder and harder for the same pay, or maybe even for less pay, certainly not getting ahead financially, stressed out about their finances, experiencing traumatic life experiences. Foreclosures and bankruptcies are at an all-time high. Facing rising costs of healthcare is certainly becoming a major dilemma and a major concern for most Americans today. And facing the fact that they may not be able to retire and live the promised life they've worked all their lives for. And the biggest victim and the people that receive the greatest harm is our families. Our families suffer from our unwillingness to take personal responsibility for our future. Now let's talk a little bit about what do you want? What do we want? Well, certainly we're looking for time freedom, and I've already talked about that earlier. To have enough money to support the lifestyle that we're looking for, which ultimately, again, is incorporated in that time freedom issue. To have great relationships, to have better relationships, to really connect not only with their families, but other important people in our circles of influence. To have fulfillment and purpose, for our lives to mean something, not just an issue of the alarm clock goes off, I get cleaned up, I go into work and trade my time for money. To have a future that's filled with excitement, with activities, with flexibility, to do the things we want to do when we want to do them, and certainly to create a future that comes along with security. What is it that all of us are looking to avoid? What we don't want? Well, we certainly don't want to be working all the time. Right? We don't want to be controlled by money, meaning money is placing limitations on our lives. We don't want to be forced, because of the amount of time that we're trading for money, we don't want to be forced into superficial relationships. And certainly we don't want to have little or no impact on people and really within our circles of influence. A hopeless future, meaning we're in this endless cycle of linear income and trading time for money, and certainly stress-filled lives where we don't know what the future brings, meaning all those things that are happening to people today about their employment situation or their job situation certainly is not something that we're looking for. So let's talk about how do we get what we're looking for. Time freedom. I can tell you the one and only way to get true time freedom is to be involved in a leveraged system that creates residual and passive income. To have an opportunity or to participate in an opportunity that truly provides unlimited, again, that passive and residual income. And that passive and residual part of that statement is so very important. The ability to invest in people, and I'm not talking just financially, but the ability to invest in people with their time and energy, right? To make people's lives better, to reach out and touch people in a positive manner, right? And to be in an exciting, pre-need or exciting, growing or exploding industry, and to have long-term fulfillment and be in an industry that will answer or be the solution for a long-term need. And let's talk about leverage income and creating a true asset. Our opportunity, and certainly the network marketing industry, allows for people to create true residual and passive income. Most people do not understand the enormous power of residual income, the ability to have recurring income based on work you do once. Let's say that you're currently an engineer making $60,000 a year. If you would like that same income even when you are no longer willing or able to trade your time for that money, You would need to have $3 million in a safe investment vehicle today generating 2% interest each and every year. Now, I use 2%, but let's understand that in today's environment, you would be very hard-pressed. It would be impossible to find a safe investment that would actually yield you 2%. But just for example's sake, in order to replace your active income that you earn while you were trading your time for money, you would have to have accumulated or be in a position to put $3 million into an investment earning 2% annually. You have to consider whatever amount you would like for your future. Are you involved in a job that will allow you to accumulate that type of money? Do you have enough time to accumulate that amount of money? For most of us, the answer is no. So what is your plan or solution? Or have you, as many have, just given up? I hope not. If you are just sick and tired of being sick and tired, and you are sick and tired of being busy being broke, are you ready now and willing to do a little bit of the right things each and every day to create a residual passive income stream that has the equivalent financial power of millions of dollars in an investment? An opportunity that not only has the financial power of millions of dollars, but can actually generate millions of dollars in active income. Okay. My intention today was not to talk about our incredible service, but to help people realize they need to be accountable for themselves and their families. So, having said that, I do want to just speak about a quote by Bill Walsh, a successful life coach, business consultant, a venture capitalist, and a speaker that travels the globe talking about how to be successful, talking about taking responsibility, talking about doing the right things each and every day. And the first time I heard Bill Walsh say this, it absolutely resonated with me, and I've never forgotten it. If you want wealth beyond your wildest imagination, find out where the world is going and get there first. Right? It's such a simple and, I guess, common sense thought process, but if you want wealth beyond your wildest imagination, find out where the world is going and get there first. WebDocsNetwork is involved in telemedicine, the fastest growing segment of the healthcare industry. To give you an idea how big this industry is, healthcare is projected to be a $4.6 trillion industry, and that's trillion with a T. For most people, $4.6 trillion is a number so vast, they have a tough time getting their minds wrapped around it. Let me put that into perspective, and hopefully this will help. $4.6 trillion represents almost 20% of the total U.S. gross domestic product. That is 20% of the single largest economy in the world. I think we are clearly in the right place at the right time. If you want wealth beyond your wildest imagination, find out where the world is going and get there first. So do you realize what most people, and maybe yourself included, have been doing for 10, 20, 30, or 40 years is not working? Don't you think if it was going to work, it would have worked by now? Most importantly, whatever you are doing now, you have to consider what your exit strategy is. If you find yourself in a linear income job or a transactional specialty, what is your exit strategy to have income when you are no longer willing or able to trade your time for money? I believe we have the best solution. But each of you need to discover your own whys that will allow you to take action. And let me give you a quick visual on how strong your why should be. And some of you may have heard me express this thought process before. Imagine this, a 30-foot long wooden plank, 12 inches wide. So 30 feet long and 12 inches wide. It's just a simple wooden plank. And if I laid that on the sidewalk and said, for each of you that walk this plank from one end to the other, I will give you $100. My guess is we would have a line miles long of people willing to walk a 30-foot plank 12 inches wide, and they would be afforded $100. Now that's a very superficial why, right? And it's a simple why, meaning, hey, virtually everybody can walk a wooden plank laid out on a sidewalk 30 feet long, 12 inches wide, and if they do that, they're going to earn $100. Now let me change that same scenario and change just a few of the parameters. It's the same 30 feet long plank, 12 inches wide. Now imagine and visualize this. If that plank was now 60 stories high, and that plank now bridged 2 rooftops, 60 stories high, 2 rooftops out in the open air, and on the other rooftop there was a raging fire. And I said, hey, if you walk this plank that is 30 feet long, 12 inches wide, I will give you $100. I'm pretty sure we would not have a single taker, right? People's responses would be, are you crazy? Are you nuts? I'm not walking a wooden plank 60 stories high in the open air, and by the way, there's a raging fire on the other rooftop. Now, let's go one step further. Let me add a couple other components to this visual. Same 30 feet long plank, 12 inches wide, 60 stories high, bridging 2 rooftops, raging fire on the other side. But let's say your children, your loved ones, were trapped on the other rooftop. My guess is you would literally knock people over and run across that plank to help out the people you love. Now your why is big enough to take on virtually any challenge. You know, we know if someone's why is big enough that they will run into a burning house rather than sit and watch. We know if someone's why is big enough that they will run towards gunfire rather than running away from gunfire. And I'm here to tell you that each and every one of us needs to find that why that is strong enough to allow us to narrow that gap between the life we're living today and the life that we once imagined. The houses, cars, and travels are nice things, but that's all that they are. They are nice things. The ability to have true financial independence, which allows for real time freedom, is what we all are looking for. But we have to go even deeper than that. Our why should be based on what that time freedom will allow us to be. Allow us to be better parents, better husbands and wives, better siblings, better citizens, to be able to touch people in a positive manner and leave society better for it. Again, if you find yourselves living a life far, far removed from the life you once imagined, I invite you to join us on our journey to true time freedom, which is the base or the starting point of what we're looking for so that we can reach out and touch people in a positive manner. And with that, we're coming up on our 30-minute mark, so I'm going to cut it a little bit shorter this Saturday. And again, I applaud and congratulate all of you once again for setting yourselves apart from the rest and clearly showing and declaring to the world that you are ready to take back control of your future and begin to narrow that gap between the life you're living and the life that you once imagined. 2 Saturdays ago, I did state keep an ear out for an exciting announcement. And I can tell you today, for those of you that have a Android-based smartphone, we have our very own WebDocsNetwork mobile app. So for those of you that use a Android-based smartphone, you can go to Google Play and search for WebDocsNetwork, and you will be able to download our WebDocsNetwork proprietary mobile app for free. And I urge you to share that app with everyone you know, because it's going to be loaded with a variety of useful information and resources, and we will continue to add to that platform. For those of you that are on that may own an iPhone, we are working very diligently, but just understand that process of getting that app available through the iPhone system or the Apple system is a little bit more lengthy and more involved process, so we will certainly keep you abreast of that. But with that, I wish everyone a fantastic weekend. Let's make next week a absolutely fantastic week. And again, have a great weekend, and goodbye for now. Keith, are you there? Okay. There you are. There you are, Keith. Very good.